I want you to imagine your mother lying in a hospital bed, tubes everywhere, doctors looking grim, telling you she has months to live. You'd do anything to save her, wouldn't you? You'd sell everything you own. You'd empty your bank accounts. You'd sacrifice your future just to give her a chance. That is exactly what Olumide Adeyemi did. His mother looked him in the eyes, tears streaming down her face, and begged him to pay for experimental treatment abroad. So he gave her everything: his late father's inheritance, his savings, his wife's jewelry, every single naira. He watched his mother board that plane to London, convinced he was saving her life. But 3 months later, when Olumide's world was falling apart, when his marriage was crumbling, when he had nothing left, he saw something on social media that made his blood run cold. His dying mother, at a luxury spa in Dubai, laughing with her friends about the stupid boy who believed her lies. Please, before we dive into this story of betrayal, manipulation, and ultimate justice, do me a favor. Hit that like button. It helps us share these powerful stories with the world. And if you haven't subscribed yet, press that button now. You don't want to miss the moment karma catches up. Now let me introduce you to Olumide. Olumide Adeyemi was 34 years old, a civil engineer working on construction projects across Lagos. He was a good man, the kind of son every parent claims to want. Respectful, hardworking, devoted to his family. When his father died 2 years before this story begins, Olumide grieved deeply. His father, Chief Adeyemi, had been his hero, his mentor, his best friend. Chief Adeyemi left behind a substantial inheritance: 2 plots of land in Lekki, a 4-bedroom house in Ikeja, and 8 million naira in savings. According to the will, everything was to be split between Olumide and his mother, Mrs. Funmilayo Adeyemi, 50-50, fair and clear. But Mrs. Funmilayo had always been a woman with expensive tastes. She loved designer bags, gold jewelry, and the envy of her church friends. When Chief Adeyemi was alive, he managed the money. He said no when necessary. He kept her spending in check. But with him gone, Mrs. Funmilayo saw opportunity. She saw money she wanted to control, and she saw a soft-hearted son she could manipulate. Olumide was married to Chioma, a pediatrician at a government hospital. Chioma was everything Mrs. Funmilayo was not. Simple, genuine, hardworking. She wore modest clothes, saved her money, and treated everyone with kindness. And Mrs. Funmilayo hated her for it. From the day Olumide brought Chioma home, his mother found fault. She's too dark, she's too educated, she's too independent, she doesn't respect tradition, she doesn't cook like a proper wife. She works too much, she doesn't want to give you children fast enough. The complaints never ended. But the real problem was that Chioma couldn't be manipulated. When Mrs. Funmilayo would call at midnight demanding money for some emergency, Chioma would ask questions. "Mama, you asked for money last week. What happened to it?" "Mama, this emergency seems to happen every month. Maybe we should sit down and make a budget." Mrs. Funmilayo saw Chioma as an obstacle between her and her son's wallet. And Mrs. Funmilayo was a woman who removed obstacles. The manipulation started small. Phone calls to Olumide at work. "My son, I'm not feeling well, just a little dizzy. Don't worry, don't tell Chioma, she'll just say I'm exaggerating." The calls increased. Headaches became migraines. Dizziness became fainting spells. Weakness became collapsing at church. Olumide, terrified of losing his mother like he lost his father, took her to the best hospitals. Test after test came back normal. The doctors said, "Your mother is healthy for her age. Maybe she's stressed. Maybe she needs rest." But Mrs. Funmilayo always had a response. "These Nigerian doctors don't know what they're doing. I need better doctors. I need proper treatment. Abroad, where they have real equipment." Chioma was skeptical. "Olumide, 5 different hospitals have examined your mother. They all say she's fine. Maybe she's anxious. Maybe she needs therapy, not medical treatment." "Are you saying my mother is lying?" Olumide snapped. It was the first real fight they'd had in 3 years of marriage. I'm saying something doesn't add up. Olumide, every time she needs money, suddenly there's a health crisis. Have you noticed that? My mother is sick, Chioma. What's wrong with you? Why are you so heartless? Chioma backed down. She could see that Mrs. Fumalayo had her hooks deep in Olumide's guilt and love. But she stayed watchful. She kept notes. She documented every emergency and every request for money. 6 months after the mysterious illnesses started, Mrs. Fumalayo called Olumide to her house. When he arrived, she was in bed, looking weak, oxygen tubes in her nose. Olumide's heart stopped. "Mama, what happened? Why didn't you call me?" Mrs. Fumalayo spoke weakly. "I didn't want to worry you, my son, but I went to see a specialist, a private doctor, someone who really knows medicine." She handed him a medical report. It was thick, official-looking, full of complicated medical terms. Olumide's hands shook as he read. "Stage 3 kidney disease? Mama, this says you need a transplant. This says without treatment you have less than a year to live." Mrs. Fumalayo began to cry, weak, pitiful tears. "I know, my son. I know. But don't cry. I've lived a good life. I've seen you grow up. I've seen you married. If it's my time to go join your father, then—" "No," Olumide gripped her hand. "No, Mama. We'll get you treatment. Whatever it costs. I'll sell everything if I have to." "The doctor says there's a clinic in London. They specialize in kidney transplants. They have a new procedure. Success rate is very high. But it's expensive. Very expensive." "How much?" Mrs. Fumalayo looked away as if ashamed to say. 15 million naira. For the surgery, the hospital stay, the medications, everything. Olumide felt the world tilt. 15 million naira? He had inherited 4 million from his father. He had 2 million in savings. The land his father left him was worth maybe 5 million if he sold it quickly. He would need to sell everything. His car, his wife's jewelry, everything. "I'll find a way, Mama. I promise." That night, Olumide told Chioma. She listened quietly, then asked to see the medical report. She read it carefully, her face unreadable. "Olumide, can I speak to this doctor as a fellow medical professional?" "Why? Don't you believe my mother is sick?" "I believe this report says she's sick. I want to verify it's real." Olumide's face went cold. "You think my mother would fake a terminal illness? What kind of person are you? The kind who loves you enough to ask difficult questions." "Olumide, this report is from a private clinic I've never heard of. The doctor's name doesn't appear in any medical registry I can find. And conveniently, this requires exactly the amount of money your father left you." "Get out." "What?" I said, "Get out. Go sleep in the guest room. I don't want to see you right now." Chioma left, tears streaming down her face. She knew she was right, but she also knew she was losing her husband. Over the next 2 weeks, Olumide liquidated everything. He sold his father's land. He withdrew all his savings. He sold his car and used Uber. He even asked Chioma for her gold jewelry, the one her grandmother had given her. "This is my inheritance, Olumide," Chioma said quietly. "The only thing I have from my family. And my mother is dying. What's more important, gold or a human life?" Chioma handed over the jewelry. She had no choice. She watched her husband turn into someone she didn't recognize, someone controlled by her mother's manipulations. When Olumide finally had the 15 million naira, Mrs. Fumalayo organized everything quickly. Too quickly, Chioma thought. Within 1 week, she had plane tickets, hospital appointments, and accommodation arranged. For someone supposedly too weak to walk, she handled logistics like a military operation. The day Mrs. Fumalayo left for London, the whole family came to the airport. She hugged Olumide, crying dramatically. "My son, my precious son, if I don't come back, know that you did everything you could. You are the best son a mother could have." Olumide was sobbing. "You'll come back, Mama, you have to." Mrs. Fumalayo looked at Chioma with barely concealed triumph. "Chioma, take care of my son. Try to be a better wife to him." Chioma said nothing. She just watched this woman board a plane funded by lies. For the first month, Mrs. Fumilayo sent regular updates. Photos of hospital corridors, videos of her in a hospital gown, text messages about consultations and preliminary preparations. Olumide was relieved. The treatment was happening. His mother would survive. But things at home were falling apart. With all their savings gone, Olumide and Chioma were struggling. They couldn't pay their rent. They were eating one meal a day. Chioma's salary as a government doctor was barely enough to keep them afloat. "We need to ask my family for help," Chioma said. "No, I won't beg your family for money. I'm a man. I'll handle this." "Your pride is going to put us on the street, Olumide."
They fought constantly. The stress was destroying them. Olumide blamed Chioma for not being supportive. Chioma resented Olumide for choosing his mother's lies over their future. The marriage was crumbling. 2 months after Mrs. Fumilayo left, the updates became less frequent. She was too weak to text much. She was recovering from preliminary procedures. She would send one-line messages. "I'm fine. Don't worry." Olumide tried calling. She rarely answered. When she did, she sounded breathless. "Can't talk long, my son. I'm very tired. The treatment is hard. Pray for me." 3 months in, Chioma was at the hospital during her lunch break, sitting in the cafeteria, scrolling through her phone to distract herself from her hunger. She was checking Instagram, looking at nothing in particular, when she saw it. A photo posted by one of Mrs. Fumilayo's church friends, Mrs. Gwembi Sola. The photo showed 5 women in matching Ankara outfits, holding cocktails, sitting by a pool at a luxury resort. The caption read, "Dubai Girls Trip. Living our best lives. Hashtag blessed and favored. Hashtag luxury lifestyle. Hashtag Dubai Diaries." And there, in the center of the photo, looking healthy, glowing, and very much alive, was Mrs. Fumilayo Adaimi. No oxygen tubes, no hospital gown, no weakness. She was wearing designer sunglasses, expensive jewelry, and laughing without a care in the world. Chioma's hands started shaking. She took screenshots. She scrolled through Mrs. Gwembi Sola's entire profile. There were more photos. Mrs. Fumilayo at a spa, at a 5-star restaurant, shopping at a luxury mall. All posted over the last 2 months, all while she was supposedly dying in a London hospital. Chioma felt rage like she'd never felt before. This woman had destroyed their marriage, stolen their future, and manipulated her son's love. And she was using the money to live like a queen while they starved. Chioma left work immediately. She drove to their apartment, her mind racing. When she arrived, Olumide was home, looking exhausted and defeated. He had been let go from his job due to his constant absences and poor performance. The stress of his mother's illness had destroyed his focus. "Olumide, sit down," Chioma said, her voice shaking. "What now, Chioma? More accusations about my mother?" "Look at this." She handed her her phone. Olumide looked at the screen. He stared. He blinked. He looked again. "This can't be right. This must be an old photo from before she got sick." Chioma swiped to the next photo, and the next, each one clearly dated, posted in real time over the past 2 months. "These are from this week, Olumide. She posted a video yesterday. Look, watch it." The video showed Mrs. Fumilayo and her friends getting massages at a luxury spa. She was laughing, talking about how life is too short to stress, and how sometimes you need to treat yourself. She looked healthier than she had in years. Olumide's face went white, then red, then white again. "I don't understand. She's in London for treatment. She's supposed to be dying. But she's not, Olumide. She never was. She faked everything. That medical report was fake. The clinic probably doesn't exist. She took 15 million naira, and she's living her best life in Dubai while we can't afford to eat." Olumide stood up, walked to the bathroom, and vomited. When he came back, his face was wet with tears and sweat. "My mother wouldn't do this. There has to be an explanation." "Call her, right now. Call her and ask where she is." With shaking hands, Olumide dialed his mother's number. It rang and rang. Finally, she answered. Hello? Her voice sounded normal, strong, no breathlessness, no weakness. Mama, where are you right now? A pause, too long. I'm at the hospital, my son, in my room, resting. What hospital? What's the name? Why are you asking me this? Are you interrogating your sick mother? Mama, I need you to tell me the truth. Are you in London? Are you really getting treatment? Another long pause. Then Mrs. Fumilayo's voice changed. It became cold, hard. Olumide, I don't like your tone. I am your mother. You don't question me. Answer the question. I don't have to answer anything. You're my son. Your job is to take care of me. My father left me that money. It's mine to use as I see fit. He left it to both of us, and you said you were dying. You said you needed treatment. I do need treatment. I need rest. I need to enjoy my life. Do you know how hard it was being married to your father for 30 years, always being controlled, always being told no? Now I'm free. I can finally live. Olumide felt like the ground had disappeared beneath him. So it was all a lie? The illness, the hospital, everything? Mrs. Fumilayo laughed, actually laughed. You were so easy, Olumide. I cried a little, showed you some papers, and you gave me everything. You're exactly like your father, soft, gullible, always trying to be the good guy. I trusted you, and I'm your mother. That money should have been all mine. Your father was wicked to split it, but don't worry, I got my share now, and you got a valuable lesson. Family first, always, even before that witch you married. Don't talk about my wife. That woman is the one who turned you against me. She's been poisoning your mind from the beginning, but I won. I got what I deserved. Olumide hung up. He sat down on the floor and wept, not the tears of grief, but tears of rage and betrayal. Everything he believed about his mother was a lie. The woman who raised him was a thief, a manipulator, a fraud. Chioma sat beside him, not saying, I told you so, not gloating, just being there. After everything, after all the fights and accusations, she was still there. I'm sorry, Olumide whispered. I'm so sorry. You were right. You were right about everything, and I called you heartless. I chose her over you. I gave away your grandmother's jewelry. I destroyed us for a lie. Chioma took his hand. What are we going to do now? We're going to get justice. We're going to expose her, and we're going to get our money back. The next morning, Olumide did 3 things. First, he called a lawyer. Second, he filed a police report for fraud. Third, he posted the screenshots from Mrs. Gwembi Sola's Instagram page on his own Facebook page with a simple caption. My mother told me she was dying of kidney disease in London hospital. She needed 15 million naira for treatment. I gave her everything we had. This is her in Dubai yesterday, very much alive, spending my inheritance. If anyone else has been scammed by Fumilayo Adeyemi, please contact me. The post went viral. Within hours, it had been shared thousands of times. People who knew Mrs. Fumilayo started commenting. The stories poured in. She told our church she needed money for cancer treatment. We raised 2 million naira for her. She borrowed 500,000 from me for an emergency surgery that never happened. She said she was going to London for medical treatment and asked to borrow my gold for hospital fees. I never saw it again. Mrs. Fumilayo had been running variations of this scam for years, small amounts here and there, but Olumide's 15 million was her biggest score, and now everyone knew. The church called an emergency meeting. They confronted Mrs. Fumilayo's friends who had gone to Dubai with her. Under pressure, Mrs. Gbemisola broke down and confessed everything. Mrs. Funmilayo had planned the entire scheme. She had paid a graphics designer to create fake medical reports. She had rented a hospital gown and borrowed a friend's oxygen tube for photos. She had even recorded fake hospital sounds in the background of her calls. The community was scandalized. Mrs. Funmilayo's name became synonymous with betrayal. People crossed the street to avoid her friends. The church suspended her membership. Her social status, the thing she valued most, was destroyed. But Mrs. Funmilayo was still in Dubai, living it up, thinking she was untouchable. That's when Chioma made her move. Remember, Chioma was a doctor. She had connections. She had access to medical databases and professional networks. She made some calls. She did some research. And she found something interesting. The clinic on Mrs. Funmilayo's fake medical report actually existed. It was a real place in London, but it wasn't a kidney treatment center. It was a cosmetic surgery clinic, and Chioma had a friend who worked there. One phone call later, Chioma had confirmation. Mrs. Funmilayo had indeed been a patient at that clinic, but not for kidney disease, for a facelift, breast lift, and liposuction. She had spent 4 million naira on plastic surgery, then taken the remaining 11 million and gone to Dubai to show off her new look. Chioma documented everything. Medical records, payment receipts, before and after photos. She handed it all to the lawyer. The lawsuit was filed. Fraud, misrepresentation, theft by deception. The evidence was overwhelming. Mrs. Funmilayo tried to stay in Dubai, but her visa expired. She had to come home. When she landed at Lagos Airport, the police were waiting. She was arrested right there, in front of her friends, in front of news cameras that Olumide had tipped off. The trial was fast. Mrs. Funmilayo's lawyer tried to argue that it was a family matter, not a criminal one. A mother can't steal from her son. It's all family money. But the prosecutor had evidence of fraud against multiple people. Mrs. Gbemisola and 2 other church members testified against her. The fake medical documents were presented. The cosmetic surgery records were revealed. The judge was not sympathetic. Mrs. Adeyemi, you exploited your son's love and trust in the most despicable way. You faked a terminal illness. You manipulated his grief over losing his father. You stole not just money, but peace, security, and dignity. This court finds you guilty of fraud and sentences you to 4 years in prison with no option of fine. Mrs. Funmilayo screamed and collapsed in the courtroom, dramatic to the end. The civil judgment came next. Mrs. Funmilayo was ordered to pay back the 15 million naira plus interest and damages. Total 20 million naira. Her house was seized and sold. Her jewelry was confiscated. Her bank accounts were frozen. Everything she had scammed over the years was taken back. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Remember Mrs. Gbemisola? The friend who had posted the Dubai photos? She felt terrible about her role in the scam. She came forward with information. She told Olumide that her mother had bragged about having more money hidden, money she had been stealing from her father for years before he died. With this lead, forensic accountants discovered that Mrs. Funmilayo had been siphoning money from Chief Adeyemi's business accounts for over a decade. She had secret accounts, investments in her name only. She had stolen nearly 30 million naira from her own husband. Since Chief Adeyemi was dead, that money now legally belonged to his estate, which meant Olumide. With interest and recovery, Olumide received 45 million naira. Suddenly, Olumide and Chioma went from broke to wealthy. They paid off all their debts, they bought a new house, Chioma got her grandmother's jewelry back from the pawn shop, Olumide started his own construction company. But the money wasn't the victory. The victory was the truth. The victory was seeing Chioma vindicated. The victory was knowing he had stood up to manipulation and won. Mrs. Funmilayo served 3 years of her 4-year sentence. When she was released, she was a different woman, broken, humiliated, alone. Her church friends had abandoned her. Her social status, the thing she valued most, was gone. Her house was gone. She had nothing. She called Olumide when she got out. "My son, I've learned my lesson. Please forgive me. I'm your mother. I have nowhere to go." Olumide thought about it for a long time. Then he said, "Mama, I forgive you. For my own peace, I forgive you. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. You destroyed my trust. You almost destroyed my marriage. You stole my future and my father's legacy. I forgive you, but I don't want a relationship with you. So you'll let me suffer? You'll let your mother be homeless? I'll do what you should have done for me. I'll give you what you need, not what you want. I've rented a small apartment for you, 1 bedroom, furnished, paid for 1 year. I'll give you 50,000 naira a month for expenses. That's more than you need, but less than you want. You'll never be hungry, you'll never be homeless, but you'll never live in luxury on my pain again. And if you ever ask me for more, even this will stop." Mrs. Funmilayo started to argue, but Olumide hung up. He had said everything he needed to say. Today, Olumide and Chioma have 2 children. Beautiful children who will never meet their grandmother. Not out of cruelty, but out of protection. Some people don't deserve access to your children. Some people have shown you exactly who they are. Olumide's construction company is thriving. Chioma is now head of pediatrics at her hospital. They live comfortably, modestly, wisely. They never forgot the lesson of almost losing everything. And every year on the anniversary of the day he discovered his mother's lies, Olumide takes Chioma out to dinner. He gives her a piece of jewelry. Slowly, he's replaced everything his mother made him sell. It's his way of saying, "I'm sorry," and "I see you now," and "I choose you," all at once. Mrs. Funmilayo lives in her small apartment, alone. She has enough to survive, but not enough to impress. And that, for a woman who valued status above everything, is the harshest punishment of all. Sometimes your worst enemy is someone who gave birth to you. Sometimes the person who loves you most is the one you almost lost. And sometimes justice looks like letting someone survive, but never letting them thrive again on your sacrifice. As I finish this story, I want you to remember something important. Love is not the same as loyalty. Trust is not the same as blind faith. And family is not an excuse for abuse. When someone shows you they value money more than your well-being, believe them. When someone shows you they'll manipulate your love for gain, protect yourself. Olumide's mistake was thinking love meant never questioning, but real love questions when something seems wrong. Real love protects the relationship, not the lie. Chioma's love questioned, and that questioning, though painful, saved them. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel for more powerful stories about manipulation, justice, and choosing yourself. And remember, the people who cry the loudest about family loyalty are often the ones abusing that loyalty the most. Mrs. Funmilayo faked a terminal illness to steal from her son. But her son didn't die from the betrayal. He became stronger. He became wiser. He became the kind of man who chooses truth over comfort. And that is justice served.